Welcome to episode 433 of Salcedo Paranormal, and tonight I'm sharing true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media and other ways to contact me at the podcast page, and that is salcedoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions, or stories of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. Thank you all for listening, whether you are here for the live streams on Discord, or if you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds, or if you listen on the Troubled Minds radio network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. There you can hear replays of 2 episodes of my show every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Troubled Minds Radio comes on. Always want to thank Michael Strange, host of Troubled Minds Radio, and Liam Martin, host of the Exile Minds podcast, for producing the show, my show, and putting it up on the station. If you want to support the show, there are some different ways to do that. You can always rate and review the show and share it with others. You can also find some books that I've written, paranormal fiction and nonfiction, on Amazon. You can also join the Patreon for the show now. Starting next month, first thing next month, there will be an extra True Paranormal Stories from the Web episode exclusively on Patreon for those that sign up once a month, every month from now on. So it's just another way to support the show, and there's also donation links as well if you want to just make a one-time donation to PayPal or Venmo. And all support is always appreciated, never expected, but there are expenses to making this show, excuse me, in terms of equipment and research materials, and also other expenses for travel when that is possible. Again, I'm going to the Mid-Michigan Paracon this year. November 4th and 5th, Saturday and Sunday, and so already planning on going to that, but any help would be appreciated as far as donations to the podcast. So, and I plan on doing that every year from now on, just to help get the podcast out there to more people. So, I think that takes care of everything for now, and with that, I can get to the stories here. So, let me see. All right. Again, thank you all for listening. And here's the first story. This one says, I was working in a remote area on a drilling land rig. 2 nights ago, on the rig floor, with a good view of the surrounding area, I saw a large orange static ball or sphere nearby. At first, I thought it was just the light from a small farmer's house. I don't know why that's written like that, but anyway. It says, but then I realized there was no source of the strong orange or red light. I felt uncomfortable and anxious while staring at the sphere, even though I had never seen anything in the area to make me feel that way before. I'm not sure if it was something paranormal. I have been looking for the same thing during night shifts, without success. And that's where the story ends. It's a shorter one, but it sounds like they saw some kind of an orb, or a light sphere, light source anyway, in the air nearby. And again, we hear about these all over the place. I wonder if somehow with whatever they're drilling for, I'm guessing oil, but I'm guessing oil of some kind, or gas. But if they're affecting the land in different ways, maybe they're releasing energy. I wonder how often or how common it is for there to be paranormal activity around sites like that, where they're physically making changes to the land, taking things out of it, maybe changing the energy fields around it. I don't know, but I would think that would be the case in one way or another. I wonder if that could explain that. Maybe some kind of a release of energy from the area that we just don't know how to analyze yet. It's not super common, maybe. I would think if it was happening all the time, then we'd hear about it more, but maybe not. But it sounds like they saw an orb or a light out in the distance that they couldn't explain, and that doesn't surprise me. These lights, whatever they are, and I think they can be many things, as I always say, they seem to be just about everywhere. But I wonder again if the drilling itself has something to do with that, or at least maybe it did at that point. Again, I don't know anything about how that works, but that's just what is stuck in my mind, apparently, at the moment for that story. So, I've heard I don't know that if there's any scientific basis to this, so I'm just thinking of things I've heard that drilling in places can, not sure what kind of drilling, I think it's a different kind of drilling, or a certain kind of drilling, that can cause earthquakes or tremors. And I don't know, again, enough about that to know for sure. But if that's ever the case, I would think, I have heard of, in actual earthquakes, people seeing lights coming from those areas because of just natural processes. And so I wonder if, again, that has something to do with it. Maybe something happened right at that moment, but it was so far down that maybe it wasn't felt, but the light was a result of that. Again, these are just kind of thoughts, possibilities, maybe. I don't really know. But amazing story there. Like I said, you would think if it was common, then it would be, you'd hear about it more in these locations. So, moving on to the next story here. Let's see. Okay, this one says, I live in a part of England known for the War of the Roses and its rich history. Late one night, I saw a tall man in a red coat, white trousers, and black boots walking out of my kitchen into the hallway. At first, the sighting didn't fully process or register, and it slightly freaked me out. But I dismissed it as my brain playing tricks on me. The next day, my mom revealed that she had also seen the same figure walking from the kitchen into another room on the same night. This coincidence surprised me, as my mom described the exact same figure without prior knowledge of my own experience. I have never believed in the paranormal before, but now my brain struggles to fully comprehend what I saw. So that's the end of that story. It sounds like multiple people saw the same thing. And again, that to me sort of rules out any kind of misidentification as far as someone's mind playing tricks on them. Well, then, what are the odds of two people around the same time having the same kind of thing happen to them if it's just in their minds? I have a hard time with that. Nothing is impossible, I don't think, at least when it comes to the paranormal, but I mean, I don't know. I have a hard time with that idea. I've heard of the idea of I forget what it's called now, basically hallucinations by large groups of people, mass hallucinations. But this, you have two people that didn't even know that they had had a sighting of the same figure around the same time. So and there was no influence of one over the other at the time of the sighting. So, and it sounds like there's a history there of again, there's some kind of war that happened there at the time. I'm not familiar with history in the area, but maybe they did see a soldier. And again, who knows if it was a spirit of a soldier, or just a residual image of a soldier, or if it was some kind of a time anomaly where their house was right in the middle of what was once a battlefield. Hard to say, but I always am glad when I hear these stories of multiple people seeing the same thing without knowing it, that the other saw the same thing at the same time. That's always amazing to me because, again, that to me rules out influence or um, suggestion, which I think is always a thing that can happen, but I don't know if it happens as much as maybe some more skeptical people would like to say it does. So, but anyway, it's a really neat sighting there. I wonder, again, doesn't sound like this figure interacted with them other than just walking through the area, so maybe it was some kind of residual image, or again, time anomaly, and the soldier just didn't see them. Maybe it didn't even see the house. Maybe it just turned out that the path that they walked was just right, so that it walked through these doorways and things without clipping any of them, without going through any of them. And so it looked like they were aware of the house when really maybe they were not. It's always hard to tell with these kinds of sightings. So, neat story there, and I would love to go to the UK someday and check out a lot of these historic areas and buildings and all those things, because one thing I've heard is that there's a lot of activity there. And of course I've heard that through different TV shows, so over the years, so I'm not sure if that's an exaggerated claim or if it's not. I don't know, but I'd still love to go there someday. But neat story there. Yeah, so also I wanted to mention, I just remembered this now. I had a comment in one of the YouTube videos of someone saying they wanted to share their story, and you can find my email in the podcast page on the left-hand side, I believe, is where that information is at, and you can send me an email with either a request to be on the show at some point, or if you want to just write down your story of your experience, and I can share it on the show that way. That is always okay, and as long as it fits the show and everything, I will definitely share it. So, just want to put that out there. And of course, my email is really easy overall. It's the same thing as the show, except not Podbean at the end. It's Salcido Paranormal at gmail.com. So SALSIDO Paranormal at gmail.com. And we can work on getting your story of your experience onto the show. Again, as long as it fits. I don't cover anything too dark or things that are graphic. I try to keep this to be mostly a family-friendly show. Every once in a while, things will sort of show up, but I try to keep it in that range, or in that vein anyway. So, but yeah, so just wanted to put that out there. Always happy to check out what your stories of your experiences that you all have, and either have you on the show to talk about them, or read whatever you send me in text form through the email or through Discord if you're on Discord, and go from there. So, moving on to the next story here. This one says, let's see if I gotta scroll down a little bit. There we go. It says, I was taking care of my parents' house while they were on vacation. My girlfriend and I were in the upstairs room. My girlfriend asked me to turn off the motion sensor light pointing down the stairs. I heard steps coming up the stairs while I was in the bathroom, but I only heard 3 steps out of the 15, stopping in front of the bathroom door. The door floor creaked in a specific tone, indicating someone coming towards the bathroom. I finished quickly and opened the door, but there was no one there. I went back into the room and asked my girlfriend if she went downstairs or went towards the bathroom door, but she hadn't left the room. The combination of lights turning on, creaking of the floor and the steps make me think it was more than just faulty sensors and settling floorboards. So that's where the story ends. It sounds like the girlfriend was sensing someone there, maybe, or some energy there anyway, and then that was activating the light, and then so the writer turned it off, but then I wonder if sort of that activated or changed the energy there to where they had these footsteps that showed up that they heard right by the bathroom door, which I'm guessing was near the stairs. So that's really amazing if you have these multiple things that have happened before, and then you have this current event of the footsteps. Sounds like there's some activity there, and it's always hard to tell, especially when it's just sounds and it's not sort of constant or anything like that. I would think it'd be hard to tell if it's someone that stays there, some spirit or other entity that stays there, or if it's just passing through. But then again, you have the light. Those lights can be weird on their own, the way they just turn on, and I think it can depend on the strength, probably the sensors range and all those kind of details. But again, I think that it is odd. Sometimes it seems like you hear stories about paranormal activity where it does trip the sensors, and other times you hear about it where it doesn't. And I had the second version there myself. And again, I've talked about this before in other episodes. That training center that I stayed at for blind people, low and no vision people, where I was hearing the sounds of footsteps and a white cane, which is what people that with low vision or no vision use to navigate. I was hearing that cane tapping on the floor along with the footsteps out in the hallway outside of the room I was in, but I could see through the door. It was one of those doors that had a window in it, and at this point, the training center had done some renovating and added motion sensor lights. And usually when anyone walked down the hallway, they automatically turned on. But the lights never turned on, even when I was hearing these sounds out in the hallway. But then eventually those sounds stopped, and I could hear the manager, or what do you call them? I always forget. Just the person in charge of watching over the building, walking down the hallway, and of course the lights turned on when they were walking down the hallway. I knew it was them because I could hear all the keys that they had and everything. So, and eventually they went by, and the lights turned off, and the sounds of the footsteps and the cane started again. So that is a thing, and those it's really hard to know what does and what doesn't activate those kinds of sensors and why and how that works. So really amazing story there, again with the footsteps and then the sensor sort of being turned off but then having the footsteps anyway. I wonder if it doesn't sound like the people heard the footsteps when the light sensor would go on. So I wonder if having it turned off sort of triggered, again, changed things to where the energy manifested in the form of the footsteps instead. I don't know. But anyway, moving on to the next story here. Let me check on things on Discord, make sure I haven't missed anything. Okay, looks good. But yeah, moving on to the next story here. And this one says, I lost it. Okay, there we go. Says, I enjoy the paranormal, but I am not sure I totally believe in it. Still, I have experienced something I can't explain. This happened while I was driving to work on a freezing January morning in the UK. I was on a country lane near an old monastery and castle ruins. No one else was around. I was alone in my van. Then I saw a figure dressed in black, wearing a hood, with their face covered. The figure was standing in front of a tree along the lane. It was unusual for someone to be there at that time due to the darkness and danger. I felt a chilling sensation, and my hair stood up on end. The area has a history of similar sightings. Frightened, I accelerated and drove away quickly. And that's where that story ends. That's an amazing sighting. It seems like there are so many of these kinds of sightings of people, or that people have along roads as they're going down the road, and sometimes it's women in white. Other times it's more of these kinds of hooded figures. Other times it's cryptids. But I could probably do a whole show just of stories of people that are driving down the road and see something there. And so it's really amazing that that happens so often. Excuse me. And this one seems like a hooded figure, almost like a shadow figure, maybe. They don't really say it's shadow, but they say it's all in black. So I'm wondering, does that mean more shadow-like or not, or solid? Again, with these stories, all you have is all you have, and that's fine. But either way, that really is amazing, that sighting, and the feelings that people get from some of these figures, these apparitions that they see. They can vary. Sometimes people don't get any feelings at all. Other times it's more of an ominous thing. This driver was frightened. I wonder if that fright was just because the figure was so out of place, or if it was some energy this figure was giving off. That's always a question as well. Or if it was just the first time they've had anything happen, that could easily cause that fear as well. And it might not be that this figure meant any harm or any ill will towards the person, the writer that experienced it. It's always hard, like I said, to know what's going on there. But yeah, so really amazing story there. Again, another one from the UK. And so yeah, neat story. I think that's going to be it for the stories for tonight. Again, I want to thank everyone that has supported the show so far, all the guests that have been on the show. Looking forward to having more over time, of course. Again, if anyone out there who listens to the show has had paranormal experiences and you want to join me on the show to talk about them, please let me know through either the email or the Discord. Happy to have you on the show. And also, just again, thanks to all the guests that have contributed in terms of doing research for the episodes they've been on. For those that have done more topic-based shows, and also, like I said before, just if you would like the show to keep going and keep getting better, please consider supporting it in any way you can, and it definitely is appreciated. So. But I think that's going to do it for today. Looking forward to the rest of the shows for this month. Thank you all for being patient as I took a week off this last week. And we still have this month's roundtable to look forward to as well later on. So thank you all, and I will talk to you all in the next episode of Salcedo Paranormal. Take care.